Hello STEAM team, this is Morgan from Virtual Camp and today we're going to get creative. This week's theme is Topsy-Turvy and I want to know what you guys normally wear on a topsy-turvy day. Do you wear funny socks? Do you wear backwards clothes? Do you maybe wear a funky hat? A funky hat is definitely my favorite thing to wear, and so that is why today we're going to make brain hats. So this is kind of what it's going to look like. I'm going to let you know what your supplies is and then we'll get started. So first you're going to need a printout of the two halves of your brain, and you should be able to find this on Blooms. You will also need some tape. Scotch tape is probably the best for this, but you can also use like normal clear tape. You'll need some glue, and you're going to need scissors. Now, make sure that you ask for an adult's permission to use scissors, and if you're not allowed to use scissors when an adult is not home, just wait, pause this video, and then wait until you have some supervision. But besides that, if you guys are ready to go get your supplies and we'll get started. Okay, so now that you have all of your supplies, the first thing we're going to do is cut out each side of our brain. So I'm gonna start off with the big part of my brain. You guys can maybe start there too if you want. And it doesn't have to be perfect. If there's a little white space kind of on the edges, that is perfectly fine. We just wanna make sure that we get the basic shape of our brain so that we can make it into a brain hat. And also, while you're looking at your papers, you might realize that there is a right side and a left side, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, why it's important that we kind of differentiate between the two sides. But for right now, just focus on your cutting. And I have finished cutting kind of the big part of my brain right here. And before you throw away this piece of paper, I want to show you guys that there's another piece right here. So just in case you missed this part, this is this like gray piece right here is actually the cerebellum, and we want that part too. So we're going to cut that out as well. Okay, so now that I've cut that out as well, I'm going to throw out my paper. And I'm going to do my other side. So we've done the whole right side, and now I'm just going to cut out my left side. Just make sure that you have your cut out pieces. I have my big kind of part of my left side of my brain, and I'm going to cut out the smaller part, the cerebellum. Okay. So now that I have actually cut out the pieces of my brain, you might notice that on each side of your brain there are these kind of triangle-shaped pieces where there's dotted lines and there's solid lines, like dark lines, and we're going to cut along the darker line that's not dotted where the arrows are pointing. So there's one like right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, here, and also one right here. Don't forget this one. So just cut along the solid line where the arrows are pointing, and you're going to do that on both sides of your brain. So I have done one side of my brain, and as you can see, it looks kind of funky now. There's all these little flaps, but you'll see what we're going to do with those in a second. And now we are just going to cut the solid lines on the other side of our brain. Okay, so now we are done with our scissors, so you can put those aside if you want. And now you are going to need your glue stick. So uncap your glue stick, and you're gonna see that there's these words that say tuck under on the pieces that we just cut. So you're going to put the glue on those pieces. Also, if you can't read the words, it's just the pieces where the arrows are. You just want to put the glue there. And we're going to do exactly what the words say. We're going to tuck it under. So you're going to take your piece and you're going to put it under the side that you just cut it from. So you can kind of see that. I'll do it again so you guys can see. Just take your glue stick and run it along where the arrows are, and you're going to tuck it under this piece. So you're going to keep doing that with all the different pieces, and you'll kind of see your one side of your brain take some shape. And you want to make sure that the colored part of your brain is the part that is sticking forward, kind of. You don't want it to bend the other way, because then that's not really going to make a hat. It could make a hat, I guess, but then the white part would be on the outside, and then you couldn't see all the fun facts about the brain. So as you can kind of see, it's kind of taking shape. And I don't know if you guys notice this while you're cutting, but there's all types of words on this hat. And it actually tells you some very useful facts about the different parts of the brain. So up here is the frontal lobe, and this is actually the frontal lobe of the left side of the brain. And so you can see that this part of your brain helps you like tell time. It helps you figure out what different like symbols mean, like what a heart would mean, or different things like that, or what like a stop sign would mean. It also helps you like order numbers and things like that. So it's kind of the part of your brain that helps you with things like science and math. Okay, I just have one more. So now you can kind of see that it's taking shape. You can kind of see that it's like one side. I just have to glue this part, and then we will do our other side. If you look at the green part of your brain, that is called the motor cortex, and for this particular side of the brain, that is the part that moves the right side of your body. And you might have heard me say this is the left side of the brain, and you might be thinking, why would the left side of the brain move the right side of the body? But actually, like the right side of your brain moves the left, and the left side of your brain moves the right. So it's kind of an interesting fact. You can impress all your friends with it. So now we have one side. I'm gonna put it right here, and I'm gonna do the other side. So now that I am on the right side of the brain, in the frontal lobe, it actually does something different than the left side of the brain. So if you remember, the left side of the brain controls things like remembering what symbols mean or doing math problems, but the right side of the brain focuses more on being creative and doing like art and music. Okay, so I'm continuing to glue, and as you can see, this is kind of taking some shape as well. Starting to look more like our brain over here. And just keep gluing along the area where the arrows are pointing to the opposite side of the paper. So for your blue section, that is the sensory cortex, and that controls all of your senses. So like your taste, your smell, your touch. Okay, gluing my last two. Now I'm on the parietal lobe. And this is the part of your brain that helps you know where your body is in space. So that seems kind of like a weird concept, like what does that mean to know where your body is in space? But if you close your eyes and touch your nose, you still know where your nose is, even though your eyes are closed, and that's kind of an example of how you know where your body is in space, even when your other senses aren't available. Okay. The purple lobe right here that we just did, that is the occipital lobe, and that part of your brain is what helps you see. Okay, So now I have glued all of my pieces. I have both sides, and now the main thing we need to do is piece it together. So I'm gonna cap my glue stick, and the best way that I have found for taping your sides of the brain is to take the front part of your brain and place it on the table and make sure your pieces are overlapping a little bit. And then you can take your pieces of tape and actually start taping your brain together. Okay, let's see. And even if you have like a brother or sister or a parent available, you could even ask for help doing this part, because it's a little hard to hold all the pieces, but it doesn't have to be perfect. The tape doesn't have to be like all the way lined up, just as long as the pieces are taped together in some areas, it should be fine. So you can see I have my first piece of tape on, and we're just gonna keep moving back. And I'm just gonna keep overlapping the different areas of my brain and putting the tape on. Okay, so as you can see, I now have my brain hat. Well, it can't really fit over top of my science goggles, but you have your hat. And you want to take your piece that has the skinnier part of the cerebellum on your left side, and then the wider part on your right side. And you're going to stick that on the part of the occipital lobe, the purple area, that has the right eye. So I'll show you in a second, because that's kind of confusing. And if you get the cerebellums mixed up, it also doesn't matter too much, but just want to make sure we get it correct. So as you can see right here, this is the right eye, and the wider part of the cerebellum is lined up with the right eye, and the skinnier part is going out. So if you can, try to kind of line it up like that, but if you switch the different pieces too, that's okay. Okay, and I'm just putting it on the other occipital lobe. Okay, and then we're done. So that is our brain hat. If that brain hat was just a little bit too complicated, I do have an example of an easier one. So for this one, you just have to cut out the different sides of the brain, and then you can make a headband to kind of glue it on. So for this, you would just need, again, the printouts, tape or glue. You could really use either one, and 2 strips of paper that you can connect together to make into a headband. So this is a simpler version, and then this is a more complicated version. But that is all I have for you guys today. Remember to post on Blooms what your brain hat looks like. Maybe even post you wearing it, and you could even wear some crazy socks or a tutu or just something kind of fun and topsy-turvy along with your brain hat, and just show us what your kind of funky, wacky outfit looks like. But besides that, just remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell below to get our videos every week, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
If you're not watching this on the Sunrise Studios app, well, why not? You can download the Sunrise Studios app on your phone or tablet from your app store, and you can watch all of our virtual camp videos the moment they're released. You can also find Sunrise Studios on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, or you can watch it on our Sunrise Association YouTube channel. See you soon!